Joining us now is the former senior strategist to Jeb Bush's presidential campaign. That's Dave Kochel, who joins us from Harvard University. And in New York, Anthony Scaramucci, the founder of SkyBridge Capital, who was on Jeb Bush's National Finance Committee and is now a member of Donald Trump's Economic Policy Council. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to start you both with the same question that I start everybody with at this point, because I'm sorry, whether you like the horse race or not, we're less than a week out and it's a horse race moment. So, Kochel, where do you see the race right now?
Well, certainly there's a trend right now in Donald Trump's favor. I think the fundamentals are still pretty difficult. There's some states that he's just never led in and may never lead in that he has to win at least one or two of here in the closing days in order to get himself to 270. It doesn't look likely, but if I'm the Clinton campaign right now, I maybe thinking about going out and buying about 10,000 bedpans, because there's certainly a lot of worry starting to build in the Clinton campaign, given where they're spending money and where they're going.
Anthony, do you feel like right now, do you feel like the race is where? I mean, do you think your guy is now suddenly pulled level with her, or are you still the kind of play like the comeback kid?
Well, listen, some of the polls say that he's ahead of her. Some of the polls say tied. There's a few say he's behind, but the momentum is our trend. And so that in sports. Same thing is true in politics. My guess is that he's going to bring more people to the game on November the 8th than Secretary Clinton. And obviously, President Obama is super worried about that, because that's why he's doing these radio shows. So my guess is that this is going to be close, but I think Mr. Trump is going to pull this off on November the 8th, and he'll be the next president. He'll be the 45th president of the U.S., and then we're going to invite David and all those people that used to work with me with Jeb Bush into the tent, because we're going to have to govern, and we're going to have to all figure out a way to get along together.
Anthony, I'll ask you this question about the way that Donald Trump's spending his time right now. One of those things he's doing is he's spending a lot of time in these kind of very deep blue states. You got him in Wisconsin, talking about he's been in North Carolina, I think, talking about Michigan. You're a man who is a data guy, as a man of the markets.
Yeah.
When you look at those states and you look at the history in those states, does it seem to you to make a lot of sense for your candidate to be spending scarce time in states that have not voted for a Republican in a very long time?
Well, remember the two states like Michigan and Wisconsin, they have Republican governors, and the Republican governors are certainly helping them there. I was in Macomb County a few weeks back, which we all know is a Democratic county, driving around, and there was one Trump placard after the next, which is why guys like Michael Moore are saying, ladies and gentlemen, wake up, Donald Trump is going to be the next president. So this is an unorthodox thing about Mr. Trump. It's probably not super data dependent, but my guess is that some of these internal polls are telling him he's in striking distance in those places. And it's a little bit of sending a message that he's going to be president for all Americans. And so that's why he's got a message out there for the African-American community, the Latino community. He wants to build a presidential coalition that includes everybody. And so the blue strategy is, listen, we're going to turn this into a purple nation, and we're going to make this a presidency for all the American people. So I like the strategy. And I think it'll pan out for him, as most of the things that he has done with his intuition.
David, let me ask you, I know when I ask people to play this kind of hypothetical game, sometimes it gives them some agita, some pain, and in this case, I'm going to inflict some on you. Pretend you're Donald Trump's campaign manager or chief strategist. Would you be having him spend his time the way he's currently spending his time, or would you be pursuing a different path?
I think they've got most of it right. I would probably spend all of my time for the next few days in Wisconsin, New Hampshire. I might try Virginia. They've got him going back to Iowa on Monday. I'm not sure that's a good call. It looks like he's got Iowa pretty close to being put away. Look, the coalition that has brought him where he is are non-college educated, white working class voters. You have a lot of them in Wisconsin who weren't there for Mitt Romney, frankly, in the 2012 election, and they weren't there for John McCain in 2008. You have a lot of them in New Hampshire as well. I think he's going to have to take one of those two blue states. You could probably make an argument for Virginia. I know there's been a little bit of tightening of the polls there. I just don't think there's a coalition that exists for him in Virginia to win. I think where he's got to go is New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and that's about it. I don't see him winning in Colorado. I don't see really any opportunity for him to break through in Michigan. I don't think that there are enough white working class voters there to put him over the top. So I'm probably spending most of my time in those two states. Probably hit Florida again just to make sure you've got that, as a state where you can kind of lock it home. Obviously, he doesn't win this election unless he runs the table on all of the states that have been swing states over the last 6 or 8 weeks, and then he's got to go take another state or two, and I think the opportunities are Wisconsin and New Hampshire.
Dave, let me stay with you just because of one thing you said, which is now kind of taken for granted, which is that of the traditional battleground states, that Iowa is his strongest state. We see that in the polling all the time. You are an Iowa guy, a Des Moines resident. Just explain this to me. I mean, I know that, but part of the answer is demographics and that it's an overwhelmingly white state. It was an overwhelmingly white state in 2012 and 2008 when Barack Obama won it. So what's changed in Iowa that makes Iowa so much more receptive to Donald Trump than it was to Mitt Romney or to John McCain?
Well, I think the wrong track number is driving a lot of this. There's a lot more frustration among voters. I think, you saw it in the off years of 10 and 14, where you had, a much higher turnout among, sort of disaffected, angry voters, upset at Washington. Trump seems to have really struck a chord with these voters. And then you have on the other side, the Clinton campaign is just not an inspiring campaign. She doesn't have a good message for voters like that. I think Obama was new and fresh and hopeful, and I think the wrong track number wasn't as high in 2012 as it is today. Even though the economy seems to be improving at a slow rate, there's no credit being given to Washington or to the Obama campaign or the Obama administration necessarily. And so Hillary Clinton has kind of failed to inspire a coalition of new voters that Obama inspired in 2008 and 2012 with just incredibly high turnout in Democratic precincts, even in whiter states like Iowa and Ohio. It's just not happening for her, and that's where the opportunity is for Trump.